Hello, this is an update on the Solo Field Recorder. I made a video on this in halfway through 2016 and it's now March 2018, so it's been about 2 years and there's a few changes, so I wanted to show you what the current Solo looked like, which is this, and run through how to use it and how to build one. So the Solo website is here. You can go and have a look through it. I'm going to walk through it with you in this video, but the first thing I'd like to do is get a recording going so that we can play it back towards the end of this video. So I've got a Raspberry Pi with a clock module, I've got a USB sound card and a microphone, and I've got a power cord and a USB power bank. And I'm going to put the memory card into the back. The memory card has already been flashed with the Solo software. So that software will run the recording, and it will also then, the memory card is the place where all the audio is recorded to. And so I've previously flashed that, and I'm now going to turn this recorder on by simply plugging in the USB power bank, power supply. And you'll see that some lights come on, and that Solo recorder is now booting, and eventually the red light will go out and the green one will flash in a heartbeat pattern to let you know that it's working. So a few things have changed since a couple of years ago. In particular, you might be more familiar with the old-fashioned one, which had a Cirrus Logic audio card. Well, those are no longer manufactured. So we've changed the audio card to being this one here, which is about $20 or £20, and it's much less fiddly to install. And there we are. You can now see that the green light is flashing. Boom, 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 boom. So that's good. That's now running. So I'm going to take this out of shot, and we're going to run through. Well, actually, let me take the battery out of shot, but not the system. So microphone's a standard microphone. This bit here is what I just showed you, this new Sound Blaster. The Raspberry Pi is a Raspberry Pi A Plus version 1. There is a little clock module sitting on top of it here. Sorry if this is all out of focus. It looks like this. These are dirt cheap. Chinese is where I buy them, from China on eBay, and in bags they come in multiple packs like this, or you can get a more professional one like this, which you can replace the battery on, which is useful. And then Raspberry Pi 8, and then there's a power cord, and then there's a standard USB power bank, which I think people are familiar with these now. You plug them, you charge them from the mains here, and you just use them as a power supply. Lots of people buy these to take on holiday with them to charge their phones from, so that's how you might know one of those. Alright, so let's leave that one to get on with its recording, and I'll stop thumping it around because that will be ruining the audio. At the end of this video we'll have a look at the audio that's on that device. So let's go back to the web page and start with so I guess an introduction is that the Solo Field Recorder is a cheap self-build audio recorder intended for bioacoustic research, which you assemble this that I've just shown you, you put it in a box and you leave it in the forest for, well, this one would run for 5.5 days on a battery like this. You can use a bigger battery, which means that you get more time out of it, as long as more recording time, as long as your battery is big enough, and you eventually take the audio off it, copy it back onto your the PC in your office or your laboratory, and get on with analysing whatever data it is you're interested in analysing. So if we follow the build tab here, you'll see that these are the components you need, and I think I just walked through most of those. If you click on these, it'll tell you more about them. The assembly now, well, the assembly used to be complex. It's now so easy that I don't think you would need any further instructions than what I've already shown you. Perhaps the clock module, but there's lots of information on the clock module on this website. So prefer flash a memory card. So the memory card that you put into a Solo has to have the Solo software on it, and no, we need the browser for this, sorry. You get the software from the Downloads tab, and you need the thing called the SOSE, Solo Operating System Image, and this is where they're kept. The top one's always the most recent. You click on this and it offers to download it to your desktop. I'm not doing it because I've already done that. And then you can see that's what it downloaded. It's about 300 megabytes, I think, 330. You then unzip it using whatever unzip thing your desktop computer has, and you end up with this one here, which it ends in IMG, and it's roughly 1.1 gigabytes. So it's this that has to go onto a blank memory card before you put the card into the Solo and set it off to run. The way that I do that on this computer, it depends which desktop you use, how you do it. The way I do it on this computer is to docs flashing. You flash it using these instructions here for one of your 3 different desktops. For me, it's dead simple. I run that command there. Here's the card reader attached to the PC that I'm sitting at right now, and so I would normally just put my memory card in there, and then I would run this command. I can't run that command right now because if I do, this computer is so heavily loaded with doing the recording that everything grinds to a halt. So unfortunately I can't do that in front of you. It takes about 1 minute to do it, and then you pull the card out once you've done it. As I say, follow the instructions for your own desktop computer operating system type. That then is ready to go straight into a Solo and to start, just as you saw me do at the beginning of this video. So that is how to flash. Let's continue down the page here. Flash, download, test. So we've downloaded the software, we've done all that. Oops, I meant to be on the build tab, didn't I? Assemble, prepare, do a test recording. So we have this Solo running in the background here, still flashing away. Flash, 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 flash. So that's recording now, and we'll listen to that at the end of this video. I'm trying to keep this quite short. Do a test recording. So we'll need to turn it off and copy the data over to our PC in a moment, and then we'll listen to some audio. The website has improved a fair bit on the build tab, which we just went through, so you've now seen that. Components, we now support quite a few more components, so there are more sound cards. This gives you a good quick introduction to all of the various parts of the system that you need to buy and how to choose between them and how all these various bits work, which is quite useful. Downloads tab you've seen, nothing much more there than the software that we've already downloaded. This is the biggest tab in docs, so there's a pile of documentation that I've accumulated over the years. So things like power go into what types of power supply, USB battery banks like the one you've just seen, or car batteries, and how to do that with DC to DC converters, the scope for using something like solar. Lots of questions answered on power there. Microphones tells you how to choose a microphone for it. Memory cards has a great big table which helps you choose how big your memory card needs to be. So commonly I record at 16 kilohertz in mono, and that tells me that if I want to get a 32 gigabyte card, memory card, which I think that one is 30. Oh, it's out of focus. Oh, wow. Never mind. 32 gigabyte card there would give you 11 days, and my USB battery bank would operate for 5.5 days. So that's overkill. I would get away with a slightly smaller card. So this allows you to see the relationship. There's also the formula down here. That's how to work out this table is computed from that formula. It also discusses speed ratings and things which aren't nearly as important as you might think. Flashing we've just been through. Harvesting is copying the data back. So again, it depends on whichever computer you're on. But those instructions are easy. We're about to do that ourselves. The little clock module, there are 2 different types of clock module you can use. This one is slightly more professional. You can change the battery on it. This one is cheap. I think I mentioned that at the beginning of this video, but this is take 4, so I can't remember what I've said. Clock configuration, there's a few things that you might want to configure. If you just download the software and plug it in and run a default system with no changes, it will work and do something sensible. But if you're in a different time zone, then all the audio that's recorded onto the memory card, which is named after the the audio files are named after the time at which they're recorded. So the audio is split into 10-minute long sections, which are then clustered into a folder for each different day. So you might want to get the time zone right, so that you do want to get the time zone right. And there's a few other things that you can configure there. If you don't touch it, it will assume that you're in GMT, which is the time zone that runs through London. That's my time zone. That's configuration. There's a calendar mode now, which allows the time at which the device records to be controlled. So you can choose arbitrary complicated sets of times at which you want it to record and not record. Now, don't get excited by this. It doesn't save you any power. It only turns off the recording, unfortunately. And this is the big downside of the Solo, is that its power consumption is bad. So you really can't do any better than you don't save any battery by turning on the calendar mode. So that's that. There's then a page on analysis that is empty, and the rest of this, there's not much to say. Alright, so I think we should bring this Solo back into view. And I'm now going to turn it off and copy the data over. So the way you turn it off, you might imagine that I'm standing in a forest and I've arrived to change over the battery in the memory card. So that's how you stop it. I always pull it out at that end rather than this end. If you pull this little plug out, it's fiddly to get back in. You don't want to be doing that with muddy, wet, cold, shivery hands. So then pull the memory card out. And then if you were in the field, you might decide to put a fresh memory card in here, reattach the battery and continue recording. But let's assume that we've now made our way back to our office. This is a memory card reader which is attached to the desktop that I'm sitting in front of. So as I put this card in, you should notice in the bottom left of my screen that 3 different things appear. One of them is called Solo Data, and that's where the data has been recorded is kept. And the first thing that I always encourage people to do is to just copy all of it to their desktop. And because there's very little data on this, that happens very fast. So that's now copied. You can see it's appeared on my desktop. And what I now like to do is say, right, I'm done with that card. I'm going to eject it. That's it, that's gone. We're done with this card. We could now reflash this and have it ready for the next deployment in a Solo. We're now done with that, and now we don't need to rely on anything except the files on our desktop. So here's what we've just copied. You can see it has a logs and a WAVs. All of the audio is in WAVs. There we are, 2nd of March, which is today, and the first one started at 14:06. It's 14:17. So the audio has been split into 2 files here, and the second file started at 2:10, well, 5 seconds late, but that's okay. So you can see that the audio is split into 10-minute long sections, which those 10-minute sections are aligned with the wall clock time, so that okay, and there we are. So if I run that command right now, because if I do, this computer is so heavily loaded with doing the recording that everything grinds to a halt. So unfortunately I can't do that in front of you. It takes about 1 minute to do it. There we are. You can see that that's what I sounded like when I was speaking to you a few moments ago. So that's that. When I've done this video before, I realized that playback to you sounds rather boomy for some reason. The setup I have here makes it sound that way. You'll have to trust me that in real life these audio files sound clear and fresh and crisp. So it's reasonably high fidelity. Alright, is there anything more to say for the moment? I don't think so. That's a Solo. I don't sell them. The software is free. You can buy the bits yourself, put one together and see if you want to use it. There's several things I haven't covered in this, like how to set the clock. But lots more information on the website, as you can see. And if you want to use these, you should try it out and see how you get on. And I wish you luck. Goodbye.